Hello, dear friends of VAFTA. My name is Fadekemi. I was born and raised in Nigeria. I grew up with 4 siblings. Her dad was present and supportive, and one very smart, strict, and hardworking mama who was a school principal. At the age of 12, I worked in my mom's preschool. Excuse me. Little did I know that this would give me some of the most valuable skills of my life. After high school, I pursued a degree in microbiology and a second degree in botany. In between my years of study, I did what all Nigerians youth are required to do. 1 year of community service away from home. There, far from home, and far from everyone I knew, I met a special friend, a woman. With her, I felt something I'd never felt. Thank you. And I felt something I never felt before. And one thing led to another, and we became more than a friend. At the end of our community service, I left the region of Nigeria 12 hours far from hometown and said goodbye to her and never spoke of her again. My family had strong religious values, and by the age of 30, I was receiving a lot of pressure to get married and have children. I met my husband through a friend. It was at the time I was looking for stability and wanted to be with someone who was a source of calm. And that was the impression it gave me at first from the outside. We had 2 beautiful girls, 2 years apart. Not too far into our marriage, I began to see the signs right away that this was not going to be the marriage little girls dream about. In fact, it didn't feel like marriage at all. I went out to work. I went out to work all day, took care of the kids, and all of the housework. I did everything, all on my own. My husband didn't work. In fact, he barely ever left the house. I was working hard to support my family. I was driven because I had no choice. Over 15 years with a logistic company, I became manager and then executive in supply chain management. I was building a life for us, or so I thought. Somehow, despite my hard work, we were running into major debts. The money was disappearing, and I didn't know why. To this day, I still do not know where all our money went, and any question about it to my husband was shut down and left unanswered. His lack of help wouldn't necessarily have broken our marriage if I felt I was receiving any love or gratitude or even friendship from him. But I received nothing but criticism and emotional abuse. It came to a point where I just avoided being home as much as possible to avoid being around him. I felt empty, totally empty and alone. I couldn't continue. I told him I wanted out. And to my great surprise, he accepted my request and moved to his mother's house. I was free for the time being. Once separated, I met an incredible person, a woman. The feelings I had back during my community days returned. I felt loved and seen again, and it felt amazing. Somehow, words got out into the community that I was bisexual, and the news traveled back to my ex-husband and his family. In Nigeria, it's a criminal offense to be bisexual. His family tried with all of their effort to have my children taken away from me and have me arrested. I left with no choice but to leave everything I had, everything I'd known, and flee with my daughters. I sought asylum in Canada. Now, let me tell you, my friends, I know Canada is not a perfect country, and it has its own set of problems, but I can tell you firsthand that in your country, unlike in mine, where I was rejected and outcasted by my own people, here I don't have to hide. I can just be me, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. But back to my story. When we arrived in Canada in December 2023, yes, imagine arriving from Nigeria in December. We were immediately sent to an emergency shelter and stayed there for 8 months. For days on end, I sat there trying to pass time with my girls and figure out what to do next. I was lonely and bored. I wanted so badly to do something, anything. One day I went to a food bank and I met a woman there who told me she had completed a wonderful program called Building Foundations for Women at a place called Viata. And this, my friends, was a moment, a spark that led to countless uphill changes in my life. I was thrilled to be accepted to BFW. I met incredible women and learned countless skills and experiences that would change my life. After graduation in August of 2024, I learned about the After Upper Shelf program. And with my supply chain management experience in Nigeria, it seems meant to be. Through these two life changes program, I gained things one could never gain in grade school or in high school. Things some people are lucky enough to get from their parents, caregivers, and communities. Things like motivation, resilience, and self-awareness. When you lack something and you find someone to give it to you freely, without you even asking, is an amazing feeling. One that I wouldn't trade for anything. Through VIAFTA and their incredible skill and compassionate case managers, I was able to move through my trauma. They taught me how to come to terms with my life story, but not to let it define me. And then they helped me make a plan to move past my past. I learned a plan that will make everything beautiful out of something dark and difficult. You may be wondering where that plan led me. Well, I'm proud to tell you that I got a new job at Closing the Gap Healthcare as a PSW, bringing back the days of working in my mother's daycare, where I learned to care for others, a place where I can give support and care for people in the way I want to receive support and care. I am also working on getting my PR and getting my life partner to Canada from the UK. I haven't seen her in over a year, and I'm hopeful that we will build our lives together very soon here in Canada. And now, my friends, at this point in my life, a new me has emerged. Yes, a more fierce me has arrived, and she isn't backing down. Before I conclude, I want to share one thing. You know, back home in Nigeria, I had the impression that the Jewish people were a community of people with strange doctrines that kept to themselves. But from my standpoint of view today, I beg to differ, that it's a community of great people, positively impacting everyone around them. No matter who you are or where you're from, you can always find a place called home with them. The after has greatly changed my life, and I can't stop saying thank you. Thank you so much.